Time having arrived, I call the meeting to the City Council to order for today, Tuesday, November 12th, here in the chambers. Please stand and help us salute our beautiful flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, councilors and guests, welcome to our council meeting. With that being said, we've got a decent-sized agenda, but I believe that Councilor Azak, you have a special presentation that you want to make.
Thank you, Mr. President. We would just like to take a moment on behalf of the whole Brockton City Council to present a citation to Mr. Valdemiro Vargas Montero. If you could please come up.
Okay.
So on behalf of the Brockton City Council, I would like to offer you this official citation. Be it known that the Brockton City Council hereby extends its congratulations to Valdemiro Vargas Montero in recognition of celebrating your 30th year in the music industry and your leadership in the Cape Verdean community.
Thank you so much.
And be it further known that the City Council extends best wishes for continued success, that this citation be duly signed by the President of the Council and attested to and a copy thereof transmitted by the Clerk of the Council, President of the Council, Councilor Rodriguez, City Clerk Cruz, and I signed on behalf of my colleagues, so we would like to present this to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Congratulations. With that being done, Mr. Clerk, number one, please.
Item 1, we have the acceptance of the minutes of the October 28th, 2024 City Council meeting.
That will be accepted and placed on file.
We have the appointment of Ms. Marge Shepherd of Brockton, Mass. to the Brockton Council on Aging as an alternate for a 3-year term ending in November 2027.
That will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
We have a hearing, the petition of L&B Auto Collision LLC, Alexander Gomes of 48 Jordan Street, Brockton, Mass. for a motor vehicle repair mechanical license transfer located at 515 North Main Street, Brockton, Mass. 02301. In City Clerk's Office, July 10th, 2024. Hearing assigned for November 12th, 2024. Fire Department has no objections. All paperwork is on file.
Time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Is there someone here in favor of this petition? If so, please approach and provide your name and address to the clerk.
Good evening. My name is Alexander Gomes, address 48 Jordan Street in Brockton. I'm here today to obtain an MVR license for 515 North Main Street in Brockton.
Councilor Lally.
Councilor Allen?
I was going to speak after the hearing was...
Okay. Is there anyone else here in favor of this petition? If so, please approach and provide your name and address to the clerk. Seeing none, I declare that portion closed. Is there anyone here against or in opposition to this petition? If so, please approach and provide your name and address to the clerk as well. Going once, going twice. That portion is closed.
Mr. President?
Councilor Lally.
I had a couple of conversations with Mr. Gomes prior to this meeting. You know, I think that what we have here is an established businessman looking to invest in the community he lives in. I think that he would do a lot of work, necessary work, to clean up a property that we've had some trouble with. The license as it exists really doesn't have stipulations. So in consultation with Mr. Gomes and the fire department, I've come up with some that I would like to add that I would like to read into the record.
Go ahead.
A total of 4 outside parking spots as indicated in the submitted parking plan. Parking spaces must be marked by an above ground sign, or above spot sign. And that's 4 outside parking spots during the day. No outside parking overnight. Tow trucks associated with the premises shall be parked on a non-permeable shall not be parked on non-permeable surfaces as defined in city ordinances, and a 20-foot fire lane must be marked and kept clear from North Main Street to North Montello Street. The parking lot of the property runs between
Okay.
those streets.
Are you good with that, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? The question comes to us on granting by a hand vote. All those in favor of granting? Anyone opposed? It carries. Congratulations and best of luck.
Thank you.
You can stay right there.
You need to stay right there as well.
Item 4, we have the petition of L&B Auto Collision LLC, Alexander Gomes of 48 Jordan Street, Brockton, Mass., for a motor vehicle repair body license transfer located at 515 North Main Street, Brockton, Mass. 02301. In City Clerk's Office, July 10th, 2024. Hearing assigned for November 12th, 2024. Fire Department has no objections. All paperwork is on file.
Time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Is there anyone here in favor of this petition? If so, please provide your name and address to the clerk.
You can just say your name again.
Go ahead, say your name again.
Oh,
and
you can say it right there.
Alexander, last name Gomes.
Is there anyone else here in favor of this petition? If so, please approach and provide your name and address to the clerk. Seeing none, I declare that portion closed. Is there anyone here in opposition to this petitioner? If so, please approach and provide your name and address to the clerk. Seeing none, I declare that portion closed. Counsel, do you have anything else you want to add to that? Or
Nothing more, just that we wish Mr. Gomes the best.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? The question comes to us on granting by hand vote. All those in favor of granting? Anyone opposed? It carries. Now, congratulations and best of luck.
Thank you, guys.
Item 5, we have the petition of Mass Electric Company, DBA National Grid, and Verizon New England, Inc. to install 2 JO poles on West Elm Street. New pole 9-50 will be installed on West Elm Street, along with a stub pole 9-84 across the street. In City Clerk's Office, October 4th, 2024. Hearing assigned for November 12th, 2024. All paperwork is on file.
Is somebody here from National? Oh, okay.
Right.
Time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Please provide your name and address to the clerk.
My name is Calvin Fonseca. Address is 55 Monk Street, Stoughton. The job that's going on in Elm Street, it ties into the same job for the one that was done on Goddard Road, which I was here for the petition last month. Pole 9-50 is going to be a junction. Allows us to bring the new primary wires to the new poles on Goddard Road. 9-84 is to support the poles to keep them in line.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here in favor of this petition? If so, please approach and provide your name and address to the clerk. Hearing none, I declare that portion closed. Is there anyone here in opposition to this petition? If so, please approach and provide your name and address to the clerk. Seeing none, I declare that portion closed. Counselor from Ward 2, do you have anything you want to add?
Actually, do you talk to any neighbor close by? If you see any prevention, or you didn't talk to anybody yet about it, about the service that's going to happen?
The question is when it's going to happen?
Yes, when it's going to happen, if you do talk to any neighbor close by.
When it's going to happen? Like the people in the area?
Correct.
When we give heads up?
Correct.
Usually, when we do the work, we always give a few weeks hold notice before it's done to give a heads up. Especially if there's an outage, we always give them a few weeks notice.
Then everybody's okay with the details. You do have details in place, right?
Details? Please, yes,
Correct.
we do.
All right. When do you say it's going to happen, actually?
As soon as we get approval here, we could get the job started as soon as possible. In terms of scheduling, I'm not sure. From my end, I just handled the engineering portion, but as soon as we get this pushed, the soon we could get this started.
All right. If anyone approach it to you, just kind of, see if you can work with them.
Okay.
To make it easy possible for the resident. All right, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The question is on granting by a hand vote. All those in favor of granting? Anyone opposed? It carries. Thank you, sir. Number 6.
We have a communication from the mayor appointing Ms. Marge Shepherd of Hancock Street, Brockton, Mass. to the Brockton Council on Aging as an alternate for a 3-year term ending in November 2027.
That will be accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the creation of the Immunization Revolving Fund, provided that no more than $250,000 may be expended during fiscal year 2025. The creation of this fund will capture reimbursements from the administration of vaccines, replenishing spent funds on vaccination efforts.
That will be accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the approval of prior year unpaid bill of $174.87 in order to pay for an invoice from fiscal year 24.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $150,000 from the Executive Office of Administration and Finance to the City of Brockton. These funds are part of the FY25 Community Compact Best Practice Grant Program.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the fire chief requesting that the Brockton Fire Department accept and expend the total of $20,655.00. This will cover the cost of 45 stealth firefighter self-rescue device kits with bag and lanyard from the Northeast Rescue System.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
That too is accepted and placed on file.
We have a communication from the mayor in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the approval of the following funding sources for the FY25 budget in the amount of $9,550,000 in order to balance the FY25 budget.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the approval of the revocation of the general fund subsidy to the Parks and Recreation Department in the FY25 budget in the amount of $400,000.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Chief of Police requesting to accept and expend the attached donation from Northeastern Savings Bank, Avid Exchange check as numbered, in the amount of $1,000 made payable to the Brockton Police Department. Northeastern Savings Bank was generous in providing this donation to ensure that the First Responder Community Jamboree on August 17th, 2024 was a success.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that City Council authorize the approval of the use of the stabilization fund as a funding source for the FY25 budget in the amount of $1 million in order to balance the FY25 budget.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the approval of the use of retained earnings in the amount of $3,117,635 in order to balance the FY25 budget.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the police chief requesting authorization to expend grant monies related to the FY25 Municipal Road Safety Program of $60,000 from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the BPD grant writer relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor recommending the same.
That too is accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have a communication from the Director of Planning and Economic Development submitting attached order for your consideration and approval. The order is in support of Brockton's application for the Mass Department of Housing and Community Development to amend the Housing Development Incentive Plan and Zone to promote the development of market-rate housing in downtown Brockton.
Accepted and placed on file.
Unfinished business. We have an ordinance prohibiting camping on public property, to create an ordinance to prohibit camping on public property, and to provide for removal of campsites on public property. In City Council, August 26, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Ordinance. That report was favorable. In City Council, October 28, 2024, passed to a third reading by a hand vote.
Councilor Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise tonight to speak in support of the ordinance to prohibit camping on public property. The number one duty of city government is to provide a safe and secure environment for our constituents, both residents and business owners, so that they may flourish in their pursuits. Right now, our residents are fearful when they walk by an encampment on their way to work or on their way to school. Business owners have often told me that the encampment issue downtown is affecting their business, and that some of them are considering moving out of Brockton, and that would be devastating to our city. So this council needs to effectively address this matter. The U.S. Supreme Court, in its Grants Pass decision, has empowered cities like Brockton to regain control of our public spaces. This ordinance establishes a city policy and a clear procedure to remove unlawful encampments. This ordinance was drafted in collaboration with the Mayor's Office, the Social Services Office, the Inspectional Services Department, the Brockton Fire Department, the Brockton Police Department, and the District Attorney's Office. It is clear, it is lawful, and it is enforceable. Now, over the last couple of weeks, I've read headlines that says Brockton is seeking to criminalize homelessness. That is a false narrative. Millions of dollars have been invested in the city of Brockton to provide compassionate care for our unhoused population. We do our best to provide shelter, mental health, or drug treatment for anybody who requests it. We are good people, and we love all of God's children. This ordinance does not target a class of people. It targets unlawful behavior, and it will be enforced humanely and respectfully. And finally, the city of Brockton is seeking millions, tens of millions of dollars for commercial and residential development. We must show those who choose to invest in Brockton that this council will do its part in providing an environment for that investment to succeed. So therefore, I call on my fellow city councilors to act in the best interests of the city of Brockton and vote to approve this ordinance. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Tavares.
Actually, I'm just going to stand up. Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. Actually, I am not in favor of this ordinance. And the reason I'm going to explain it why I'm not in favor. As of right now, we have the way I can express right now, I have two state representatives work with me. One is here to kind of help those folks to find a home. We still struggle. I understand we need Brockton clean it. I understand the business. I understand all that. But the reason why I'm not in favor, because I don't see no plan B and C. We want the street clean. But end of the day, we're talking about folks like us, human, does have a right, does have a place to stay. Even us, we do have a place to stay, but we struggle to pay. I understand homelessness is all over the place, but it's not attracting anybody's life out here. The reason I believe because they don't have a resource or nothing in place. I understand it, like, they say the shelter's right there. We work every day to find the people shelter, place to stay. Mom, single mom, overstarted, they're gonna hang up outside because they don't have no place. And then I can prove. A couple months, we do kind of help 180 people less than 3 months. But as of right now, we totally struggle because the shelter is full. It's not placed. Even a lot of people move out of Brockton because we don't have a place in Brockton. I understand we want a Brockton clinic, but we have so much to work on it to clean Brockton before we clean people like us. This is why I'm not in favor. And then before we vote for this, somebody must convince me we have a plan B for those folks for me to be able to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Duran Court and then Fowler.
Thank you, Mr. President. To you, to the gentleman from Ward 5 who actually filed this ordinance, let me just put it to you like this. I would be very ungrateful if I did not, stand up tonight to speak against this piece of legislation, and I'll tell you why. Earlier I had a conversation with a few people outside in terms of like this situation, and before I even, say whatever I'm about to say, let me just say this to you. I believe that, we do have a situation in Brockton that need to be addressed, and we do have to take care of our residents and, of course, the business people, but at the same time, our unhoused people. And one of the mistakes that people usually make is that they usually look at, someone on the street and assuming that, he or she is a bad person. But the problem with something like this is that they don't really take their time to even wonder why that person might be, in this situation. I can remember vividly back in 2000, either 2004, 2012, or between 2012 and 2014, I was a new kid in this country, coming from Haiti, and I was attending Massasoit Community College. And fortunately, Massasoit had a program where, every semester they took a group of students, to different places. And at that time, I was in the student senate, and I was fortunate to be part of that group of students who was selected to go to Washington, D.C. And that trip would have been my first experience with homeless people or our unhoused population. And the reason I'm telling this story is that it's a very sad story. And mind you, just come from Haiti, I was excited to go to the Capitol and all of that. To make a long story short, we flew from Boston to Washington, D.C. The goal of the trip, we didn't pay for it. I just want to say that they paid for it. We just have to give them $50 so they can make sure that we were interested in going to D.C. The goal of that trip was to empathize with the unhoused population and to give us an idea, even in our capital, we will be able to see people that live in a desperate situation. And mind you, I did not know what homeless was, because I'm coming from Haiti, okay? I did not know that. And for some of you, that might be shocking, but it's not like that back home, okay? And when I got to D.C., we were advised to get like those sleeping bags because we were going to sleep on the street in front of a church. I mean, mind you, like, this was kind of like interesting. The reason why, it's because they wanted the homeless people or the unhoused people to somewhat feel comfortable and talk to us. Then we will come back and do an essay on the story. And each of us, was assigned to talk to at least 3 people and draw our conclusion. And obviously we were sleeping on the, plastic bag and talking to these people and trying our best to look like them, and we could not. And I was fortunate, to meet a gentleman who was a doctor and, doing well in life. And for whatever reason, there was a fire at his house. He lost his wife, he lost his daughter, he lost his dog, he lost his mind. That person became homeless. And for me, this was a unique story. In terms of, mind you, I was young and my English wasn't as okay as it is today, but it was beyond my ability to understand the reason why that person became homeless. no reason of his own, and I'm going to say it again, he was doing well, had a wife, had a daughter and a dog, beautiful house, excellent neighborhood, but by virtue of a fire, he lost everything. And as a kid from Haiti, I could not empathize with that. And as I was talking to the folks that went to Washington, D.C. with us, and I tried to explain to them how I was feeling about it, and they said the best I could do is to put in an essay, which I did. And I realized at that point that no one is immune of being homeless, none of us. And there are multiple reasons why someone can become homeless, multiple reasons. And by virtue of having something like this, I mean, in my view, I think it is unacceptable. And it's morally wrong. Do I believe we need to take care of the business people? 100%. Do I believe we need to do a better job in terms of approaching the street and making sure that our residents feel safe and welcome? Of course, yes. But do not use the homeless people as a reason why people are feeling unsafe. That's unacceptable, folks. Do not use the homeless people as a reason why, oh, the city is upside down because of that. For whatever reason why the gentleman from Ward 5 and making those statements, I guess, there might be something behind it. And my view tonight is this. I'm not speaking as a politician. I'm not speaking as an elected official. I'm speaking as a human being. We have a moral obligation to help those who are not able to help themselves. Some of the people on the street, they are doctors, lawyers, moms and dads, brothers and sisters, families, veterans, people who have served this country. And I will be very hypocritical to stand here tonight pretending that that's the best way to go. This is unacceptable for whatever reason. And I'll say this to you. Now, how do you find somebody who's unhoused? I mean, I understand that, my English is not as great as can be, but how do you find someone who's unhoused with an expectation for them to pay for it? How? I mean, let me just put it to you like this. What if they cannot pay for it? Well, they're going to be arrested. You're going to throw them in Plymouth, and they're going to have to deal with it. And you know what's so funny? And I'll tell you, there's something that you may not think about it. They're going to have a record. Now they will be unqualified to even apply for housing anywhere by virtue of their records. I mean, I understand that we may try to do X, Y, and Z, but the things that the consequences is bigger than what we are trying to do. You don't solve a problem by creating another problem. You solve a problem by finding a solution. For the folks who may not know anything about this, is that, yeah, I mean, people are going to clap. It's an excellent ordinance. We got to do this. But I don't think you take the time to explain to them the consequences. And I'll tell you this. Some of the bridges, the city of Brockton does not own them, especially where the train pass. That's the MBTA. That's the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And at the end of the day, yeah, they might be under the bridge, but you cannot go there and kick them out. That's the state. And I think we have a moral obligation here tonight to speak against that. And again, we have homeless people everywhere. I mean, I was actually reading something. In 2024, we have more than 34,000 homeless people in the nation, veterans. And tonight, I guess, it is unacceptable. It is unjust. It is cruel to come up with something like this. What I would say, and I'll finish, I don't mind the ordinance, but what I do not agree is the approach. And obviously, you claim that you spoke to a few people. This was not what was recommended. This was not what was proposing tonight. This was not what was recommended. The idea of charging them a fee was not part of it. The idea of arresting them was not part of it. And for people who may not know, who are sitting at home, they might wonder, like, why you are defending the unhoused. I'm not defending anyone. I could be homeless too. But there's a way of doing it. And I'll tell you this. I hope this ordinance does not pass. And if that pass, here's what I can tell you though. It's a recipe for disaster. And there will be unexpected consequences. And it's an opportunity for lawsuit. And I'll leave it there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Farwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, there is a problem in the city with unhoused populations. There's no doubt about it. There is a problem with littering. There is a problem with human waste. There is a legitimate problem with people being fearful of some homeless people. I think it's important at the outset of this discussion to say not everyone who is homeless is a bad person. There are people out there who are homeless because they couldn't afford to pay their rent. The landlord went up quite a bit with the rent. They lost their job. They're victims of domestic violence. There are a whole host of reasons why there is a homeless problem, and it's nationwide. We're talking about a nationwide problem. If the easiest fix were this ordinance, I would think that hundreds of communities across the country would do the same thing, and I don't see that happening. So when this was in the Ordinance Committee, it was a 3-2 recommendation favorably. Councilor Castro and I voted against it because I am not convinced that this is going to do anything to address the issues that we need to face here in this city. I would recommend that we convene some type of a regional collaborative. We go through our state legislative delegation. We ask for the funding that's needed to attack the core reasons why people are homeless and to attack the core problems that many of the homeless people have. Whether it's addiction, whether it's mental health, whether it's domestic violence, we're not doing that. This ordinance does nothing to stop the flow of people coming into this city from other communities. Does absolutely nothing. What it does, it imposes a burden on the police to go out and enforce this ordinance. And we're going to start paying the police overtime to take homeless people to court because it's their third or fourth offense, when frankly, and I'm willing to admit it, we don't even do traffic enforcement in this city. I mean, seriously. I've seen more buildings hit by motor vehicles in the last 5 years than I did during my entire police career. It's ridiculous. So I think we've made a mistake with this ordinance. I think it's not going to do what we want it to do, which is at least ameliorate the problem with homeless in this city. I think this should have gone back for further study. We should have brought more people in who are stakeholders, experts. Did anyone ever go to the Boston Medical Center mental health clinic on North Pearl Street and ask, do you have homeless people come in? Do you know what their problems are? Is there anything you could recommend to us that we might be able to do to help address this problem in the city? I don't think we did. We have one young lady here, Jasmine Bradshaw, who goes out every single day trying to address this issue. One person in a city of 115,000 people. We need funding. And what really irritates me is the state can mandate, and I'm not picking on Representative Dubois, the state can mandate that we've got to change zoning in order to have accessory dwelling units for housing. The state can mandate that we have to change our zoning within a certain distance of the MBTA rail line. And that's actually being litigated, or has been litigated. I think we're waiting for the decision from the town of Milton. Does the state ever step forward and say, you know what, cities like Brockton have a serious problem with homeless populations, we're going to help them? Because I haven't heard it. Now, I'm not one, and I'm probably the last person you would ever expect to see stand up and talk the way I am in this issue. And I understand that. I was never homeless. I was blessed. But I'm smart enough to listen to other people who know the populations, who know the issues, and I'm telling you that without funding, this city can't afford to do what's needed to be done. And we should be working together collaboratively with the community-based organizations, with the legislature, with state agencies, and we should come up with a model for how we address this issue now that that grants pass decision has been rendered by the Supreme Court. This doesn't do that, and I am still opposed to it. I have no fault with Councilor Thompson responding to the many complaints we've all had about the homeless issue downtown. And I praise him for standing up and being willing to say, this is what I think should be done. I just disagree. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Nicastro, Griffin, and then Azak.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. It's a hard issue, and you all know that, and everyone at home knows that. Our police are understaffed. Our streets, at the same time, are a mess. Our library, no one wants to go there and borrow a book because of the stink from unfortunately, the unhoused people who hang out there. We've got serious problems with our unhoused and how they're handling things. Yes, the Supreme Court passed a decision in June that makes it possible for cities and towns to address this. I just don't think the ordinance that is in front of us tonight, colleagues, goes far enough. I don't think it's as considered as it should be. At Ordinance Committee, I tried to send it back to committee for more work. I sincerely believe we can do more to better balance the situation. I think it's wrong. For instance, we have one homeless shelter. It's nearly full. It will be full this winter. Yet, on the nights when it's full, we can still penalize people for being outdoors. I think we can do better with an ordinance. I think we owe our businesses and our residents a safe area and secure area. I agree with Councilor Thompson, but I just think this ordinance is not going to do what we need it to do. We don't have enough police to address this, and therefore it won't be addressed, and we will have wasted our time with this ordinance. I would have liked to have seen it gone back, but as a result, we'll be voting finally tonight, and I won't be voting in support of it, unfortunately. Thank you.
Councilor, thank you, Councilor. Councilor Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening. Homelessness is a very complex problem. Unfortunately, at the city level, we end up holding the bag. There's been an abdication by the state government and the federal government in funding this problem that the country's been struggling with for at least the last 20 years. And when COVID hit, it was like giving it steroids. So as I sit here tonight, I hear some of my colleagues looking for a panacea from one ordinance. That really isn't going to be possible. But what this ordinance does, it's a start. We can start taking care of the taxpayers and the residents of downtown Brockton to give them a better quality of life. Because they are truly the people that are affected by this each and every day. Children walking to school, stepping over excrement in the sidewalks, seeing open drug use. That is unacceptable in any society. And again, I am not blaming the homeless. I am blaming the federal and state government for not funding this. They had plenty of energy and plenty of money when the people came over our border. They bought hotels to house these people. I've seen nothing like that done for American citizens who are rendered homeless. And to me, that is unacceptable. I will be supporting this tonight. I think it's a good first step. I think once we get operational with it, it will need some tweaks. There's no question about that, but I commend Councilor Thompson for bringing this forward. I think it's a good first step because we cannot let this problem take over our city because we want to develop the city. We want to make it a thriving city for our residents and business owners, and we also want to encourage further development. So for that reason, I will be supporting it tonight, and I encourage my other councilors to do that also. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Azak.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I'd like to thank the people in the gallery that took the time to be here this evening. I've read your signs. I even know some of you from attending some of the meetings at Pastor Roberto's church. This is a problem that's been going on I've been on the council for 12 years, so way before I was even here. So for that is the reason that I have to support this ordinance. But I want to reassure you that this ordinance, as Councilor Thompson stated, is not directed to the homeless population. If you read the article, which I'm very upset at the title of that it was given by our newspaper, because it is not about criminalizing homelessness. I was so offended when I read that, because I would never do that. I serve on multiple boards, and this isn't about talking about me, and I want to be really quick, because I think this has taken a lot of time, and a lot of councils have spoken on it, but I serve on boards that feed, house, and clothe the homeless population. Do you think I would support an ordinance that would go against everything that I do in my spare time, that my colleagues or friends serve on these boards and commissions? We want to do well here in Brockton, and this is a very generous community that gives to freely of its time, money, resources. We have the resources here, but the resources are not directed just at our population. Some of the issues that we have here is because we have unhoused guests that are coming in from surrounding towns. As one, my colleague stated, we need to get more funding from the state and federal government, and we need to work on that. To make a long story short, I've heard a number of things. We can go back and forth. You know, to say that our police, it's not fair, they're understaffed. Well, they're understaffed to enforce an ordinance, but they're not understaffed to clean up human waste or to move somebody from under the bridge or clean up their mess. Our clergy, I mean, small business owners, should they have to clean up when somebody defecates in front of their doorways? It's absolutely disgusting and unacceptable. And for any counselor here that votes against this ordinance, and I respect each and every one of you and your views, but we're not listening to our constituents. People have been screaming for years. Something has to be done. We're not going to have a city for homeless people to be in. We're not going to have a city. Our small business owners, they're leaving downtown. They're screaming at us. I sat next to one at an event. She didn't know I was a city councilor. She was tearing us apart for not doing anything. I'm not saying this is the best way to go. I'm not saying it's the perfect ordinance, but it is a start. And as I spoke to John Yazwinski from the head of the Father Bills, which I'm surprised he's not here this evening, and neither is Sue Joss from Neighborhood Health, and nobody here, I don't think from the Y, I don't see anybody here. I see faces that care, but the people that have called me to vote against this aren't here this evening. And as I told the CEO of Father Bills, I told him, your job is to be against this, but my job is to support the residents, the law-abiding citizens, and to support the small businesses that are supporting our city. And we have to do something. But I did promise him, and I don't know if he liked it or not, I said, let's pass this ordinance, let's vote for it, pass it, and then sit at the table, because each one of these ordinances, whether enforceable or not, can be changed. Let's get everybody at the table. I tried doing this last year. I invited them here in years past. Let's sit down, give us ideas, give us something that's going to work, and we can rewrite this ordinance so it is enforceable, so we can work it. But to not support it in November, at the end of the year, we're going into winter time, and then the beginning of next year, nothing will get done. I'm tired of another year of doing nothing about an issue that's really taken over our city. And so our councilors, I know you've all spoken, I agree with you on a lot of parts, but I hope you change your mind to support this, because as a council, we should be united about cleaning up our city.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Lally, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start by saying something that I think, it's being talked about more, but not enough. We're not really dealing with a homelessness crisis. We're dealing with a mental health crisis. A lot of the things we hear from the people on the ground are that, a lot of the people who are in circumstances generated outside of their control are receiving or willing to take the assistance. What we're encountering is a lot of people who are afflicted with a mental health problem, which is, as both Councillor Griffin and Councillor Farwell mentioned, something that is a little beyond the city's scope. This is a federal problem. This is a state problem. And while I do applaud, representatives of our state delegation for their attendance, I think the best possible solution would be to work out a fix at the state or federal level, and that's done on Beacon Hill. I know Councillor Azak did bring up an important point that I wanted to echo. The nonprofits primarily focused on addressing homelessness appear a little underrepresented, and I want to just stress that a lot of the the people from those organizations pushing this at the highest level come here to work, come here to get a salary from these organizations. They go home when they're done. My constituents, we're talking about people feeling safe. My constituents don't feel safe. How are we going to build up downtown? How are we going to get people to want to come here, to move here, to raise a family here when we have, the situation we do downtown and really all over the city? This is a moral question. It's a moral issue, and I can't fault anyone for however they come down and whether this passes or fails. I respect all of the points made here tonight. But I was not sent by my constituents for, something theoretical. I was sent to provide results. I was sent to improve the quality of life. And I don't believe that my constituents are here to be a moral point. I think they're here to raise families, to live their lives, and I don't think that shooting this down would be conducive to that. So I will be supporting this evening, but my phone remains open, my emails remain open to people who have questions, concerns, or want to continue the dialogue as to how we can improve the situation. But I would stress again that the city is not, no municipal government outside of some of the largest communities in America is really in a position to take meaningful steps on this matter. This is a state matter. This is a federal matter. This is a mental health crisis. That's where this gets solved. It does not get solved by letting people stay under a bridge. We need to do better. This is not the place to do better. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Minicello, if you so desire, you can still seated. You can stay seated.
Oh, that's okay. Good evening, everyone. I agree with all of my colleagues. They all make valid points. They all make excellent points. Excuse my shake. I've never announced this publicly, but I do have a medical condition, and sometimes I shake. But it's got nothing to do with the issue. It's just that I lucked out with something medically. So, but I digress. Again, I agree with all of my colleagues. On a night like tonight, you say to yourself, wow, I'm so fortunate to be able to go home to a nice warm bed. And we all know how we would not want to be out there in the cold and not have someplace warm and comforting and safe to go to. And I understand that. This is a city I grew up in. This is a city that I think we all know is compassionate. We welcome people. We have so many programs. We have so many services. There's so many ways that people can get help. But again, housing is a precious commodity these days. That's without question. We all know that. This ordinance, in my opinion, is not about going after the homeless. To me, when I read the language of this ordinance, it's basically focusing on those individuals and their conduct that infringes on ordinary citizens who are just trying to go about their business, run a business, walk the sidewalks, go to the park, use the fields. It's not that this ordinance awards a badge to the police to say, go out there and, get every homeless person. No. What this does is it focuses on bad behavior. People that are not allowing business or not allowing people to use the facility that they're going to use. I've talked to some of the staff at the library. They're afraid to go to the library on many occasions. They're saying to me, isn't there funding to get a security guard for the library? Because the library, we don't want to, they can tell you the incident after incident after incident, outrageous incidents. I mean, that's what this ordinance is about. It's giving the community, giving the taxpayers, giving the people that are in charge of keeping the city orderly, keeping the city clean, keeping the city open for business, to welcome people, to give kids an education. No one here in the city of Brockton does it better than the Brockton Public Schools and gives kids an education. And many of those kids are homeless. Many of those kids, get loaded up with all sorts of help. On the weekends, teachers are giving kids, filling their backpacks because they know they don't have, if they don't come to school, they're not going to, have a meal. So teachers know which kids and focus on those kids and provide those kids, with food for the weekends. Again, this ordinance is not focusing on, oh, let's go get the homeless. It's absolutely not. It's basically saying we need to be able to run the city. We need to keep the sidewalks clean. We can't have people peeing on the sidewalks. We can't have people defecating on the sidewalks. I mean, is that unreasonable? I don't think so. So they're not. So this is not designed to, oh, there's a homeless person walking in front of a store. Go get him. Go get her. Absolutely not. This is about bad behavior. If a person is, conducting themselves in a way that, is offensive to the normal, the ordinary citizen, people don't want in front of their business someone swearing and using, drinking alcohol and openly being high or something like that. Not every homeless person does that, and thank God it's the minority. But that's who this ordinance is for. It's not for the average person. It's not for the average, individual that might have, that basically, is having a tough time. That's not who this is going after. It's going after the person that's causing trouble. And let's be honest, with Father Bill's, if you cause trouble at Father Bill's, you don't just get to stay there. They say, oh, you're not following the rules. You have to go. It's just simply keeping order. That's all it is. It's not a license to go after everybody. Absolutely not. I mean, you're not supposed to camp out on public property. I thought that was a given. I mean, I didn't know. I mean, when I was a kid, we couldn't ever just camp out wherever we felt like it. I mean, again, Councilor Farwell, we all know, the state and the federal government have caused this problem. For better or for worse, the city of Brockton, because of the services, and because we are a compassionate city, people come here, and we help them. We always help them. We certainly welcome them, and we'll continue to welcome them, but all this is doing is trying to provide some order. Just a little bit of order, that's all. So, and what I would say is common sense. That's what this is. A little common sense. Gives the authorities, if someone's really acting out of line and becoming a nuisance and preventing and infringing on another person's rights, that's what this does. When you're infringing on my rights to bring my kids to the park, and you're there and you're throwing a needle or what have you down, that's an infringement of my rights. When I was in the school committee, we had to pay the custodians early in the morning every day, walk the fields, because there were needles out in the fields. Not all the time, but in my lifetime as a kid in Brockton, I never found a needle on a field. But these are the times we have right now. So this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about just people that are minding their own business. That's who we're going to focus on. No, it's focusing on bad behavior. And if we can't go after bad behavior, then there's no use for any of us to basically be up here, because we need to keep things orderly for the taxpayer and for the citizen. and the quality of life of all of us, including the homeless people. I'm sure they don't want to be exposed to people that are high and causing trouble and being a victim to these kooks. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's going after bad behavior. Not every person who's homeless exhibits bad behavior. That's my piece. I support this, but in a rational way, exercising it in a rational, reasonable manner. That's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor.
Sorry for my shake.
Councilor Teixeira.
Thank you, Council President. Democracy is a beautiful thing, and I understand this is not a perfect, but we can always tweak. We got to start somewhere. When I see the kids walking from home to school and walking from school to home, and I see, not against the homeless, because I know a lot of homeless out there. When I see those kids, it's my kids. I don't want to see my kids walking through homeless while they're underneath the bridge shooting, drugging, drinking, do number two, whatever they do underneath that bridge.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
I deal with it day in, day out. If we do nothing, nothing gets done. Not against the homeless. We need help. But we need to start somewhere. And listen, I hear all my colleagues here. We all have concern. But we hear the reason we all got elected is to do tough love decision. And tonight will be a tough love decision. Each one of us will vote with a tough love decision. We want everyone welcome to Brockton. We want a family to come to Brockton. We want business to come to Brockton. We want to grow our city. The reason that we're here, the reason that we serve our city is because we love the city. I grew up in Brockton. I own business in Brockton. I got my family here in Brockton. I'm not going nowhere. I want my city to be better. Again, nothing against the homeless. We need to do better for the homeless, but also we need to do better for the resident, the people that lives here, the business that established their business here. We have to come together. We need to come together, but we got to start somewhere. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor. I think everybody has spoken, with the exception of myself, but I'm not supposed to. But Councilor Tavares, did you want to say something on the
Just want to
on the
finish
back end?
quickly, just to kind of reinforce, actually. The reason I'm reinforcing, I'm just trying to explain it. I'm not necessarily, I like to see roomless outside. Of course, I am not. I have a lot of calls, not necessarily through a roomless, and then as well for the, all the neighborhood, traffic and everything else. Basically, for me to be able to support this, I need to see, example, like I just said, I need to see plan B or C. What can we do with those folks before we make those decisions? I'm just going to use a quick example. Terry used to be my client. We served Terry as a client I have my aides for 4 years. Started, Terry lose his resource. Then we can provide service to Terry. And then right now, Terry is roomless. I'm still working with the Terry to find a way for him to go back to the program. But for some reason, the government say they are out of money. I'm just going to invite everyone. If you guys want to join us Thursday, we have Michelle Dubois, we have Rita Mendy, because we work foot on the ground. Sometimes you don't see me all over the place, because most of the time we work one-to-one. We don't find the resource. People lose the house because the rent is very crazy. It's way too much. Everything is crazy. I'm not even necessarily because I like to see roomless outside. Of course not. But, I need to see what can we do before we make this decision. If we got the place for them, if we got the resource for them, then I use it, then definitely I'm going to support this. But until I see anything in place, and B or C in place, I am not. And then I hope we need to work to find a resource. I know we not say like a roomless or whatever, but as we pass this ordinance, Of course, anyone can get arrested because they're outside. I don't want to see that. I want to see plan B and C before we make the decision. We struggle. There's no resource. We make calls every day. Thursday. And the day, people decide, like, just stay all over the place. Sometimes we find it like, shelter outside of Brockton. We have a lot of people who want to stay in Brockton, but because we don't have a resource in Brockton, I can't prove. That's why we gotta find a way far for them, for us to be able to send them. And then I got witness here. That's why they joined me, because I can't take anymore. And then I'm not gonna appreciate it if we don't find a resource or plan B or C. We kind of work with those folks before we make the decision. Not necessarily because I want to see people outside. No, I don't. Thank you so much. This is the last to say.
Before we go on voting for this, I just wanted to say that no law, no document is perfect. The United States Constitution has been amended 27 times. It doesn't mean that this is the end of this, but the question comes to us on ordination by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak.
Yes.
Durancourt.
No.
Farwell.
No.
Griffin.
Yes.
Lally.
Yes.
Minicello.
Yes.
Nicastro.
No.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Tavares.
No.
Texera.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
That's 7 in the affirmative, 4 in opposition.
And the ordinance is ordained. Number 32.
Ordinance, an ordinance prohibiting loitering in public places, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Brockton as follows, and the ordinance is as attached, has been read 3 times.
So, Mr. President,
Councilor Thompson.
I'd like to, on agenda item number 31, I'd like to make a motion for reconsideration in hopes that it does not prevail.
A motion for reconsideration with hopes that it does not prevail has been properly made in second. All those in favor of reconsideration? All those opposed? Reconsideration fails. 32, sir.
As read, ordinance, an ordinance prohibiting loitering in public places, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Brockton as follows, as attached. This has been read 3 times.
I hope everybody had an opportunity to read this, and it's gone through the process several times. So the question comes to us on ordination as amended.
In City Council, August 26, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Ordinance. That report was favorable as amended. In City Council, October 28, 2024, passed to a 3rd reading as amended by a hand vote.
Okay. The question comes to us on ordination as amended by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak.
Yes.
Durancourt.
No.
Farwell.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Lally.
Yes.
Minicello.
Yes.
Nicastro.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Tavares.
No.
Texera.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
That's 9 in the affirmative, 2 in opposition.
And the order is ordained as amended.
President,
Councilor Griffin.
Reconsideration if it does not prevail.
Second.
A motion for reconsideration with hopes that it does not prevail has been properly made in second. All those in favor of reconsideration? All those opposed? Reconsideration fails. Number 33, sir.
Item 33, we have an ordinance creating revolving fund pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Brockton pursuant to the Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, that the following language be adopted as a City of Brockton ordinance. The inspection revolving fund shall be created. All fines collected that were a result of any notice and/or citation issued by any employee and/or agent of the Brockton Building Department. Programs or activities for which the inspection revolving fund may be expended shall be consistent with the purposes for ensuring that buildings within the City of Brockton are in compliance with all state codes and city ordinances. Expenditures from the inspection revolving fund shall be made on the authority and direction of the Brockton Building Department Building Commissioner, provided that no more than $250,000 may be so expended without further appropriation from the inspection revolving fund during fiscal year '25. The building commissioner shall comply with the reporting requirements of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half.
This will be referred to the Committee on Ordinance.
Item 34, ordinance, an ordinance creating a revolving fund pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Brockton pursuant to the Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, that the following language be adopted as a City of Brockton ordinance. The immunization revolving fund shall be created. Programs or activities for which the immunization revolving fund may be used include the immunization of the citizens of Brockton and students of the Brockton Public Schools. Reimbursements for the administration of the vaccines shall be credited to the immunization revolving fund. Expenditures from the immunization revolving fund shall be made on the authority and direction of the chief financial officer, provided that no more than $250,000 may be expended from the immunization revolving fund during fiscal year 2025. The Brockton chief financial officer shall comply with the reporting requirements of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half.
Referred to the Committee on Ordinance.
Ordered that the City of Brockton has been designated as a gateway community by the Commonwealth and that the Commonwealth has implemented the Housing Development Incentive Program, HDIP, to encourage the development of market-rate housing in gateway communities through state tax credits to qualified development projects. The mayor, as chief executive officer, is hereby authorized to submit an amendment to the Downtown Brockton Housing Development Incentive Plan and Zone to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development for its review and approval. The mayor, as chief executive officer and acting through the director of planning and economic development, is further hereby authorized to act as the city's administrator of the HDIP plan and is authorized to enter into real estate tax increment exemption agreements between the City of Brockton and qualified housing development projects, subject to favorable recommendation by the Brockton TIF Committee and approval by the City Council.
Referred to the Committee on Finance.
Mr. President,
Council Fowler.
after reading, I move that we suspend the rules and act on item number 36 this evening.
Is that in the form of a motion?
A motion to do so, yes.
Second.
A motion has been properly made in second to act on 36 tonight. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries.
Item 36, ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending the City Council approve the expenditure of $174.87 from Police Department Purchase of Services to Proprio Language Services.
Anybody has anything to offer on this? Okay, the question comes to us on adoption by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Farwell,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Lally,
Yes.
Minicello,
Yes.
Nicastro,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Tavares.
Yes.
Texera.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
9 in the affirmative.
And the order is adopted.
Item 37, ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds, in the amount of $150,000 from the Executive Office of Administration and Finance to the City of Brockton.
That will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $20,655 from Lieutenant Joseph P. Bernardo Foundation to the Brockton Fire Department.
Referred to the Committee on Finance.
Ordered that the City Council authorizes the use of the following funding sources in the amount of $9,550,000 to balance the FY25 budget as follows. Free cash, $952,075. Chapter 324 Reserve Fund, $7,947,925. And ambulance receipts, $650,000.
Refer to...
Yeah, I can explain, councilors. There's going to be a late file tonight to make corrections to items number 39, 42, and 43. So I will be recommending that you table items 39, 42, and 43. What happened is there are some corrections based off of what we did during the budget time. We're not changing any money, nothing's going in and out, but basically the DOR has asked us to make it clear in the order that was passed, just adding a little bit more specifics that are referenced in our budget books, but not necessarily in the physical orders that the council adopted. So I worked with Troy Clarkson and his team to come up with a way to do that, and so based off of our discussions, I'm recommending that you table 39, 42, and 43 and adopt and introduce late files that Councilor Farwell will sponsor at the end of the agenda.
Councilor, just so you know, we had to leave these on the agenda because the agenda was published, and that's why we've left them here, but we're asking for a motion to table. It will still be available to come to if the need be, but we have clarifying language in late files slated this evening.
Mr. President?
Councilor Lally?
Motion to take items 39, 42, and 43 collectively and table them.
Second.
A motion has been properly made and second to take 40,
39, 40,
39, 40, and 42.
39, 42, and 43.
Yeah.
39, 40, 42, and 43.
No,
39, 42, and 43.
43.
Okay, so 40, okay, whatever you said.
So I'm going to read now 42 and
Please read.
43. Item 42 is ordered that the City Council authorize the use of the stabilization fund to balance the FY25 budget as follows. Stabilization fund, $1 million. Item 43, ordered that the City Council authorize the use of retained earnings to balance the FY25 budget as follows. DPW Water Enterprise, $2,606,668. Parks and Recreation Enterprise, $510,967.
A motion has been properly made and second to table these items. All those in favor of tabling it? All those opposed? It's tabled.
Item 40, ordered that the City Council authorize the revocation of the general fund subsidy to the Parks and Recreation Department in the FY25 budget in the amount of $400,000.
That will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Item 41, ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of a donation in the amount of $1,000 from Northeastern Savings Bank to Brockton Police Department.
Refer to the Committee on Finance. 44.
Item 44, ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $60,000 from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security to the Brockton Police Department.
Refer to the Committee on Finance.
Item 45, resolved to invite Brockton Fire Chief Brian Nardelli and anyone he may wish to be accompanied by to appear at a Finance Committee to discuss the whole blood truck put on the road earlier this year with the grant funding by the town of Canton, how it is being used, how it has benefited the city of Brockton, and other important related information.
Refer to the Committee on Finance. I believe we have a couple late files.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to accept a late file.
Second.
A motion has been properly made and second to accept the late file. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries.
We have a late file. We have an amendment to the zoning map for parcel IDs identified. Be it ordained pursuant to Section 27.5 of the City Ordinances, the zoning map, which...
I'd like to move that we waive reading and allow the Legislative Council to provide a summary where this is going to be printed and posted in full.
Second.
A motion has been made and second to forego the reading and provide our counsel, legal counsel, with just a summation of this. All those in favor? All those opposed? It carries.
So there are two ordinances. One is in a response to the state's requirement that we update our MBTA zoning requirements. And then the second ordinance identifies specific parcels that would be subject to this new requirement that is mandated by state law. And that's something that we need to act upon. I think it's by February 8th or 2nd, somewhere in that time frame.
And that will...
Right now, we're only on the first one we've only done. And that's where be it ordained pursuant to Section 27.5 of the City Ordinances zoning map, whereby reference is made to an incorporation of said boundaries of each of the zones established as shown on the map entitled the City of Brockton, Mass Zoning District Map, dated November 10, 1967, and thereafter amended, that said map be amended to reflect the following zoning change, and the parcels are attached. They will be on the city website as of tomorrow.
And this will be referred to Planning and Ordinance.
Mr. President, I'd also like to make another motion for a late file and waive the reading and have our Legislative Council summarize the ordinance.
Second.
A motion has been properly made and second to waive the reading. Well, first to accept the late file, waive the reading, and have the Legislative Council just give us a summation on it. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries.
So the second one is the actual new zoning ordinance that will apply to the MBTA zoning communities.
That will be referred to the Committee on Planning and Ordinance.
Mr. President,
Falwell.
I move introduction of two briefly worded late files and have them read.
Second.
Motion has been properly made in second to accept the late file. All those in favor?
Two, you made a motion for two, correct?
Both of them. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries.
And these are the late files that are to take the place of what was just tabled by you. So the first one is ordered that the City Council authorize the revocation of retained earnings to balance the refuse enterprise in the FY25 budget in the amount of $294,639.
That will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
And the second one is ordered that the city clerk be directed to amend order number 1 as voted by the council on June 24, 2024, to amend the order so that the language specifically states that the $510,061.72 $510,061,072 appropriation order for the FY25 revenue budget reflect that the appropriation included the line item for $1 million spending from the stabilization account, $952,075 from certified free cash, $7,947,925 from Chapter 324 Reserve Fund, and $650,000 from the ambulance receipts as reflected in the FY25 budget book. Be it further ordered that the city clerk be directed to amend order number 3 as voted by the council on June 24, 2024, to amend the order so that language specifically states that the $23,766,360 appropriation order for the FY25 revenue budget reflect that the appropriation for certified retained earnings included the line item for $2,606,668 from the DPW Water Enterprise account. Be it further ordered that the city clerk be directed to amend order number 6 as voted by the council on June 24, 2024, to amend the order so that language specifically states that the $2,396,174 appropriation order for the FY25 revenue budget reflected the appropriation for certified retained earnings included the line item for $510,967 from the Parks and Recreation Enterprise Fund.
That will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
I also have a communication from Rob May concerning the MBTA Communities Overlay District.
Accepted and placed on file.
And we have one more late file.
One more.
Go ahead, Councilor Lally.
Mr. President, I'd make a motion to introduce a late file and act on it this evening under suspension of the rules.
Second.
A motion has been properly made in second to accept the late file and act on it this evening. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries.
We have a communication from the Chief of Police requesting that the attached list of donations be processed and accepted to allow WB Mason to provide items and equipment to the Brockton Police Department for use at the Winter Wonderland event they will host at 26 School Street during the 2024 Holiday Parade on November 30, 2024. The total donation is $1,190.87.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor recommending the same.
That too is accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
And we have an order that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of a donation in the amount of $1,190.87 from WB Mason to Brockton Police Department.
Well, we voted on this already, so the question comes to us in the form of
roll call.
Ordination.
That's an order. Roll call vote on the order.
By a roll call, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak.
Yes.
Durancourt.
Yes.
Farwell.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Lally.
Yes.
Minicello.
Yes.
Nacastro.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Tavares.
Yes.
Texera.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
And the order is accepted.
That's all I have.
Councilors, Councilor Azak, Farwell, anyone else? And the left side as well.
I would like a moment of councilors' recognition. So yesterday was Veterans Day. We did not meet because it was Veterans Day, so I would like to take a moment to wish everyone a happy Veterans Day. and thank everyone who serves and has served, especially our two counselors, Counselor Rodriguez and Thompson. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Councilor Fowler.
Thank you, Mr. President. We always have milestones in our life, and we have a member who's a bit shy, who's celebrating a birthday. I'm not supposed to use the name, so let me just say that it's happy birthday to someone who sits in seat 10.
On the left side.
Chamber. Yes, it's on that side of the...
Who seem to have disappeared.
If the camera could...
I'm told it's 39, but on the other hand, I happen to know she has a couple of sons who would make that number a bit squirrely. So I don't know the number, but I would like to extend to seat number 10, happy birthday on behalf of all of us.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, number 10.
Hey, Councilman Castro.
Well, with that, Councilor Castro.
Thank you. I want to congratulate Kelly Young, our veterans agent, and all of her team for putting on a terrific event yesterday. The Veterans Day Parade and the presentation, the program were just terrific. And we had a great turnout to them, and I just know it takes a lot of work to put that kind of event together and carry it out. And so kudos to all of them.
You're here.
Councilor Thompson.
No.
Oh, Councilor Tixera, sorry.
Thank you,
You
Mr.
guys are all
President.
sitting on the left side. This is what happened.
This is the lefty. I just want to announce that we're going to have a council meeting tomorrow at 6:30. So to all my fellows city council that's on the council meeting, we'll have a meeting tomorrow at 6:30. Thank you.
To the GAR room.
To the GAR room. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? Having no further business for the people of the city of Brockton, this meeting is adjourned.